Okay, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and hit that. Hit. Shade. All right. Let's see. Just our volumes just a little bit. All right. And okay, so hopefully that is a good volume. Hi folks, Steven here. So I got my internet upgraded this week, and so you should be having much fewer problems with anything. What this is going to be kind of a 2 or 3 part thing. Obviously, this is a very busy weekend in the world of Pokemon. You had Pokemon World Championships over in Nashville, and I was unfortunately not able to attend. It's a conflict with my work schedule, and this week is a pretty big week for the company I work for, and I just couldn't. I couldn't be flying back on Monday, so I'm not really mad at either party on that. It's not their job to coordinate with the Pokemon Company. It's not like 2 years ago where the Pokemon Company was at least somewhat at fault with their lack of space, I guess you could say, in San Francisco. This year it was just a scheduling mishap. They were a little too close together. But I did watch some of it. I watched a lot of the streams today. And yesterday I did something I didn't need to fly for. And that was Geek.Kon. Not 2012, but Geekcon, the 12th year they've had that. So that's right here in Madison, and we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. So that's kind of the agenda. If we have some time at the end, which I suspect we might, there's a lot packed in here, then I will definitely try and get some Q&A in. If you have questions, go ahead and type those in the chat. Hopefully everything's coming through relatively well right now. Like I said, my internet... That is a whole long story in and of itself. Just to go a little bit into what's been happening here in Madison, you might have heard about us on the news back on, Tuesday morning after Monday, the western half of Dane County, which includes western half of Madison and some of the suburbs, got quite a bit of rain. I don't know exactly what we got here, but some places it got upwards of 10 inches, like 11 or 12 in places. So the next day I got my internet upgrade, and luckily they were able to still do that despite some problems. But this weekend was Worlds, and by the way, with all the rain stuff, we got a little more today, but so far I'm fine right now, so don't need to worry about me or my personal situation. We're kind of through that. But anyway, Worlds was this weekend in Nashville, Tennessee, and they decided, since Nashville is well known for music, especially country music, but also other types of music. There's a lot of musicians there. A lot of the major labels, of course, have offices there or represented there or studios there and stuff like that. So they went with a very musical theme with this year's Worlds. You'll notice then the decorations and all that stuff. Let's see. Like, I know they had a special Pikachu costume / plush with Pikachu with, I guess it's a banjo. At least that's kind of what it looks like. I do feel a little bit bad. Well, now I kind of want them to do a Worlds. Since they focus so much on country music, I kind of want them to do a Worlds in either Chicago or New Orleans, so we can do jazz and blues. This to sort of cover the gamut. Well, not the whole gamut, but you get the idea there of music. I guess one nitpick I have with this to start off with is last year, of course, they had it Worlds in Anaheim, and if they wanted to do some musical stuff, there's certain people who've written some very famous Pokemon songs live in the Los Angeles area, of course, and I wish they could have gotten some of those in, but that just, I guess, didn't happen. They did a lot of really interesting things there. They announced some stuff about the Detective Pikachu movie that's scheduled for next summer. They had a couple of the actors there, not Ryan Reynolds, but a couple other folks there. I think they had the director and things like that. Would have been nice to kind of meet. I know they probably can't at this point say much about the movie since it's so, I don't know if production has wrapped or if there's still a bit more to do, and or how far they've moved into post. But would have been kind of fun with that. And See, I think that was about what they had. I don't think they brought any like real musicians. I did notice that like after the closing ceremonies, they had this song that I guess they had written or composed for this year's World. It didn't really mention like Nashville explicitly, I think, but it was a country music type song, and it sort of talked about Pokemon a little bit. This was something new. It wasn't like the Camp Pikachu song there. So that was very nice. I think I saw some other art. I saw a Beware with a bass, not a cello. I would know the difference. The way you can tell, if you're curious, is that the instrument Beware is holding has a relatively short end pin, which is more common with a bass versus a cello, which will have an extending end pin that goes out about a foot or two, depending on sort of the slant and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure that what you see in the Beware art is a stand-up bass and not a cello. And then I saw their set decorations on stream, and it looked really nice. I have to give them a lot of credit for that. I do kind of wonder what they're going to do for DC next year, and maybe I can go there. It depends if hopefully they don't use this. They use the third weekend in August instead of the fourth. Let's see. Aside from that. Yeah, and all of like a lot of the interstitial music, like they played between matches when they had the "We'll be right back" type message, was also very country themed. Like I said, I do think they could have covered music more broadly. I tried to remember what else they did. You may notice a lot of Meloetta, like in Pokemon Shuffle. If you head back to that right now, they've got a Meloetta event. I think right now they've got the pirouette form, the dancing one, as opposed to the aria form, the singing one. In there, so you can take a look at that. But I think by all accounts, the event, in terms of stuff, went fairly well. One thing I do know, let's see, the Pokken tournament, I know the winner of the Masters in there was Thanks Swalot, or Thanks a Lot, as they put it in there. I guess you're just not allowed to use Pokemon names as your player name in there for some reason. You may recall he also won at North American Internationals last month, and we did a written interview with him. I have a little video all about that gives a little preview of that article, but definitely suggest you take a look at that. As far as today, I did look at all the finals, but going back to the music theming, there was one thing that I have to point out was absent. And I didn't really expect them to deal with this, but I would have loved it if they had somehow managed to announce like a new release of some sort. Now, they could put some stuff up digitally, and more on that in a little bit. But obviously, they haven't put out really a new CD in a long time, in over a decade, and things such as that. But not, as far as I know, they didn't have anything in the store. I mean, what they really could have sold were like CDs from Japan. That's about all they've got at the moment, if they were going to do something like that, unless they need to whip something up. Then again, maybe I would have been pretty mad if they had done like a vinyl printing of To Be a Master or something like that they were selling at Worlds first, or perhaps even exclusively. So, but I think that would have been. I think their focus was more on like live music, which I guess they also could have. I don't know if they ever recorded audio for it, but the Symphonic Evolutions. I don't know if they ever did a recording of one of those. They should have. And put that out, but they seem to be more focused in their design and stuff on live music rather than studio produced music and that type of thing. So maybe that may have factored in a little bit. Not super surprised or disappointed. Well, a little bit disappointed, I guess, but not really angry. That would be kind of silly, wouldn't it? Let's see what else. Let's see, as far as the actual games, well, let's see, TCG, I caught a good chunk of all the TCG finals, juniors, seniors, and masters. The masters, well, they had, let's see, one of the guys was using, nice visual aid here, Zoroark Gx, a very popular, well-known card this season. A bit controversial, especially in Expanded, I think. People feel it combos too well with too many things in there. But one guy was using a Zoroark Garbodor deck, and the other guy was using, let's see, it had Mewtwo, but it also had Marshadow. It has, I believe the Marshadow lets you use basic Pokemon attacks out of your discard pile. I think I've seen that one, assuming it's not from like one of the more recent sets. I think this was it might go back to, last summer or last fall. I know I got this at like a pre-release type event, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it definitely has some utility. And the guy who plays second in Masters was able to make use of it. Let's see. And but the first player, Zoroark, did take it home this time. I have kind of mixed feelings on the card. You should know that I don't play competitive TCG very much. I have one tournament lethal deck. It's a round deck, speaking of music, that I have not changed for years because they keep not rotating expanded. So, but since I don't play competitively too much, I don't focus a whole lot on that. I do run a league. We had a decent attendance today, despite the fact that Worlds was going on. It's got the trade ability to let you draw cards. It's got Riotous Beating, so the more Pokemon you have, the more damage it does. Trickster GX. I don't think that actually gets a ton of use because it tends to be Zoroark tends to be splashed in like Psychic decks for like Arbiter and stuff like that sometimes. But I think that has some definite in the right matchup potential. Obviously, sometimes your opponent's going to have an attack that you don't want to use because Trickster GX lets you basically use one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks. Oh, I think it actually says opponent's Pokemon's, not active Pokemon. So that's actually kind of, I didn't really realize that, but that's actually not bad in the right situation. But yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this card for a while. I forget exactly which set it was released in. If you have any comments on this or want to fill in any details, go ahead and put that in the chat. Always like to hear it. But let's see, they announced next year's is going to be in DC, and they had it there in 2014, so it seems like a little bit of an early return, especially now that they've gotten out of the, somewhere with nice sunny weather pattern they were in between like Florida, California, and Hawaii, that they were for a number of years. I think they had a contract for a while with Hilton, and eventually they just kind of outgrew that. And now we sort of do these at these various places. But DC, they did in 2014. They're doing it again next year. They're doing it in August. Well, as presumably, they don't actually have a date written. And I hope it's a week earlier than this time because I'd like to go there. Full disclosure, my sister lives on the Virginia side of DC and works in that area. And anytime I get a chance to go see her, I try to take advantage of that. That was one very nice thing in 2014. I offered to actually buy her a ticket to Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions, but she kind of turned me down on that. My mom thinks she may resent being forced into violin lessons as a kid a little bit. Sorry, Amy. It's okay. I still love you. But I am hoping that I get a chance to go there. Like I said, anytime I get a chance to go to the DC area, look for it. It'll probably be at the same venue it was back in 2014. So that's something to look forward to. I would kind of like them to get some more central stuff. Obviously, Chicago, nearest major city, sorry, Milwaukee. Nothing against you. You're actually a metro area about the same size as Nashville, so I guess it's not inconceivable they could have Worlds there sometime. But Chicago or the Twin Cities, or even if they want to do Dallas or Houston, I know those get pretty hot in the summer, which is kind of maybe one of the problems. But I think those would not be logistically; those would all be capable of holding Worlds. So we'll see what they end up doing in the future there. So I'm not sure how much else I have to say about Worlds. I obviously did not watch the whole stream. I did see some comments on Twitter about being surprisingly in the draw, but I don't think that was actually a reference to Worlds so much as it was a reference to, I think there was like a boxing match this weekend or whatever that ended in a tie, which I guess is possible in boxing when it goes to decision. So I think that was about that, but I certainly not sure what the next major event I'm going to be at is. I don't think I'll be going to this fall's international in Brazil. It's just nothing super hard against the country. I don't hate it or anything, but not exactly the place I would want to go to by myself. I am possibly looking at going to the Spring International in Germany. That'll be a lot of fun. Germany is a country I've wanted to go to, but there are some other plans I'm potentially working on outside of Pokemon that may interact with that. Right. So I guess should be at the one next summer, but not 100% sure on that. And I have something to say a little bit later, but I want to squeeze something in the middle here before we go to Geek.Kon. So, as I said earlier, I was a little disappointed there was no real musical announcement. I mean, like, one of my favorite world opening ceremonies is, of course, the one where they had Masuda come up and say, hey, we're doing X and Y, we're doing a soundtrack that we usually do, but we're going to make it available in like North America and everywhere else outside Japan on iTunes. That was really great. I was actually a little disappointed last year when Masuda went on stage, I think during the opening ceremony, and mentioned the soundtrack to Pokemon Go. And I thought he was going to say, oh, and it's available digitally. You know, you can buy it there. And that just kind of led into something else entirely. So that was kind of a bit odd to me, if you ask, if you want to know my opinion there. Let's see. But as chance would work out, on Friday, there was some new, well, not really new, but some catalog Pokemon music that got released. So you may remember Ann and I a week or two ago, I think it's almost 2 weeks at this point, recorded our episode of the European Pokemon music. And one of the things we didn't mention in that episode, because they're largely equivalent, but that I did want to mention here is that in Germany, for the later seasons of Pokemon up through about season 9, the network RTL2, I guess it is, that shows Pokemon there, took some of the songs from there, as well as a bunch of other anime-type shows that they run on there, and they put together these collections called Anime Hits, which, yeah, is not the most distinct title ever. But there are, I believe, 6 volumes. It goes, like I said, up through Pokemon Season 9. And so it turns out on Friday that they actually posted most of the content there. There's some stuff that's not on there. I'll kind of explain later. To the digital services, definitely on iTunes, definitely on Amazon, MP3. I haven't checked Spotify or anything like that, but I suspect they're probably on there too. And there's a bunch of Pokemon stuff. I brought out a couple of the ones I think you should really make sure you take a look at. And I should point out, just looking back here, sort of the they say Pokemon, or they say anime on here. This says Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is not really an anime other than that one Japanese series, but I'm pretty sure that's not what they mean here. Let's see. But they all kind of look like this, with a different color scheme, with this anime-looking guy down there. The covers on the digital service look a little bit different, but they still have this guy, and they're all colored the same way they were on there. And they've got a bunch of different stuff. Now, the reason these two, this is volume 3. They have volumes 2 through 6. If there is a volume 1, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's a little hard to find these sometimes because of the first one is probably the hardest to find. And then here's 6. Unfortunately, the jewel case is a little bit cracked and stuff. I didn't get this in the best condition, but oh well. 3 has, let's see, it has Ich will Einheld sein, which I think that must be the season 6 theme. Yeah. So it's I Want to Be a Hero. If I think that, no, the one before that, it's Pokemon Advance. I cannot remember the titles to all the individual themes in there, especially if I didn't interview the guy who or woman who sang it. It's a guy in that case. But it has another track. Track 6 is called, let's see if you can see it here, Abschied. And you might not recognize it from the title, but this was, of course, actually from late in Season 5. This is the German version of Misty's Goodbye. And it's significant in part because the English version, as far as I know, has never been commercially released. Let me just take a look in here and see if it has. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not really any detailed thing. It just says Jigglypuff Music, Global Music Verlag. And let's see. On the other songs is listed as Vaporeon Music, Mewtwo Music, Global Music Verlag. It must have been a real pain because, like I said, these CDs each have like a dozen, 10+ different anime theme songs on them. So getting the rights to put these digitally, they may not have every track. I know they don't have like some of the instrumental tracks they would sometimes include on these. But These are available digitally. They have Pokemon as well as some other stuff. Like this third one has Detective Conan, Duel Masters, Mega Man MT Warrior. Let's see. Yu-Gi-Oh, Beyblade, Digimon, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Do-Re-Mi, and they have this thing called the Anime All-Stars. I think that must be some network thing. So this is, I suppose you could say, kind of like the Italian stuff, except these are largely covers of existing English songs. They're not original songs like Italy would do, which we did talk about on that episode. Hopefully Anne has that up on her Patreon relatively soon, hopefully within the next day or so. Haven't had a chance to check. Like I said, we're going to have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. I can always stay on a little bit longer here. I'm not hard locked in to stop at 7:30. I don't have anywhere particularly to go. Wanted to mention Volume 6 because it has a bunch of stuff, actually a couple of different ones. I think it has Battle Frontier, has the German version of that, but it also has a couple other songs that you would recognize from the Pokemon X album. Like I said, this one is kind of caught, the jewel case is kind of coming apart here. Transferring from one jewel case to another is kind of difficult, especially since this is a 2 CD pack. I think they may have known ahead of time this was the last one, so they made this one extra special or something. These are actually published by Sony BMG. Not sure precisely how that relationship got started. They must have some relationship with the network itself, I would guess. I noticed in the little window area here it says TV advertised, which is, I mean, you know, some things just don't translate. But this one has, it's kind of interesting. It has the sub from some of the same shows. Oh, Viva Pinata. It's kind of definitely not Die Legend von Niza. Not really sure what that is. And let's see, Digimon Tamers and Data Squad and other stuff like that. So kind of neat things there. Let me just take a quick look at the liner notes. Yeah, so they would put out one of these about every year, every season. And it has some lyrics in there too, which is kind of nice. Ich liebe Anime, which just means I love anime in German. Really fun stuff here. I don't think there's a digital booklet or anything, but props to the folks at Sony BMG for going through the trouble of getting these things, getting all the rights in a row so that they could put these out. So that must not have been easy to put. Like I said, I don't think they have quite everything there, but they have the Pokemon stuff for the most part, at least. Luckily, all the Pokemon stuff is labeled in there. The easiest way to find it for now is probably on Amazon MP3 because you can do a date search, something that for some reason iTunes doesn't have any way to find new releases outside of whatever they decide to list as new releases. Never understood that. Let's see. So that sort of carries our mid-segment. We've got a little bit of time left. I wanted to talk about Geek.Kon. This year's Geek.Kon, it says 12, but that's because it's the 12th edition. They apparently did have some internal discussions, but that was this weekend over here in Madison. Okay, so I just noticed that one of the things I wanted to show is a little bit of ways away. 1 second here, let me. Yeah, we'll save that for a little bit later. But anyway, so this is an annual convention. It's held every year. I cover it pretty much every year. There was the year that it was, there was another year that was the same weekend as Pokemon Worlds, and that was in 2015 when Worlds was in Boston. And obviously there I was just kind of stuck, but most of the years I've been able to cover it. They've been not the same weekend, or in this case this year, they've, of course, had, I couldn't go to Pokemon Worlds because of the aforementioned scheduling conflict. In any case, I did pick up a few things there. First of all, I want to show off my name badge here. Not because I get name badges at most anytime I have press privileges at a convention, pretty much. But I just want to note they have Spider-Man on there, and of course, Peter Parker is actually a newspaper writer in the comics, so that was an appropriate choice there. Did a bunch of different things there. Let's see here. I have some photos that I hope I can show. Don't know if you can. There must be some way to do that in Google Hangouts on air, but I'm not really quite sure, so I'll give it a bit of a shot here. Okay, there we go. Let's see, screen share now, chat, cameraman. Let's see what else we got. Control room. Let's see, that's me. Don't need to screen share. I mean, I could. really want to. Let me see. Let's send the cameraman. Okay, I guess I'll have to look at that a different time, unfortunately. Let's see here. Yeah, well, I can punch up we can do a screen share here, I suppose. Let's see. So, one second. So basically, there were a couple of things I did on Friday. I checked in, got my press pass and whatnot, and didn't have a ton of time. I didn't have any of my recording equipment either, kind of unfortunately. But I did get to go into the dealer room. I did pick up one thing, and that is this. This is Boss Monster. This is a dungeon building card game. This is, I think, a standalone expansion. They've got a couple of these, and I first encountered this when someone brought the Kickstarter version to our board game night at work. Let's see here. Let's see. Sorry about the. No, that isn't what I want. I want to make this full screen. I'm sorry. All right, that should help a little bit. Maybe we'll see if I show these pictures. They didn't turn out so great. Some of them did, but I took some screenshots of some arcade cabinets, and that didn't work out so great. Anyway, so, but this is a game where you have a boss, and you're building a dungeon to lure, trap, and kill heroes. And I experienced this through the original Kickstarter version 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And I picked up a copy for myself. I picked up most of the expansions. They had one there that I didn't have besides this one. And so I picked this up from the dealer's room. So I'm looking forward to playing this eventually at an upcoming games night at work. This has a lot, as you might expect, a lot of retro video game references. I know there are a couple Pokemon ones in there, like if the Boss Monster 2 or the next level, I don't know. I think they use different names. They have cards called It's Super Effective, and Wild Something or Other appeared, I think, is the one, what they called it. As you can guess, you can see the full-size box looks a lot like an original black box NES game. They also have the smaller expansions. They add more minor mechanics. Those are made to look a lot like Game Boy, old school Game Boy, boxes with sort of the banner on the side. I would say check that game out. It's if you like retro video games, there are a lot of funny references and stuff like that. And it's a pretty decent game in and of itself. I might actually suggest starting with the next level / Boss Monster 2. I think that might be a little bit. I think the base rules they tweaked in that version are a little better. Oh, that's right. There's one other Pokemon reference. At the start of the game, you can give everyone just a boss randomly, or there's one called I Choose You, where you give them 2 bosses to choose from, and they pick one to start the game. Like I said, the object of the game is to lure heroes to your dungeon, do damage to them with the rooms in your dungeon, kill them, and first person to a certain number of points wins. So I did pick up this one, so I didn't have it already. Rise of the Mini Bosses. So this apparently adds some new mechanics and stuff like that. So I like this game thematically, but I also think it plays reasonably well. And it's not super long either. All right. So Saturday did quite a few different things there. Now, the big thing there is that there was a Smash Brothers 4, Smash for Wii U. One of the few reasons they're keeping Wii U's around, I guess, at these conventions tournament. And so that ran from about 12 to about 3:45. It actually ran. It was double elimination. And I should be doing a written interview with the winner of that tournament. Let me see if I can make that bigger. Let's see. All right. So I'll show you the picture of the guy who, let's see, get the crop picture. I'll actually get you the face picture there. And let's see, look at that one. All right, so this is Jared. I think I got his name right. Let me see. Yeah, Jared Van Wormer. So he won the tournament. He actually had a very nice cosplay there. You can't see the whole thing here, unfortunately. Not a great way for me to show you too much else, but we're to be doing a written interview. His main is Peach, but in the finals, he kind of went all over the place. He, excuse me, he did. He used some Jigglypuff in there. I do think that they were trying to get their videos up, hopefully relatively soon from all their tournaments, as they did a Mario Kart tournament and some other stuff. But he seems like a really nice guy. He's cosplaying as a character from Ruby, RWBY, that one. And I forget the exact name of the character, but always neat when you get to. He seems like a genuinely nice guy, and I look forward to doing an interview. Obviously, we're going to talk about. Let's see, Smash and stuff like that. Okay, I think that's enough of that picture there. All right, go back to the. There we go. All right, first experiment. I hope you guys let me know. Could you hear me back there while I was screen sharing? Did my audio still come through? I couldn't really see the indicators. Let's see. Let's go to the chat. There we go. Appreciate knowing that. But anyway, that's Jared. He won the Smash Brothers for Wii U tournament. And like I said, we're going to talk about Smash Ultimate that comes out this fall and things like that. Now, they did have a guest there that had done some Pokemon work. Lex Lang plays Maxie in Pokemon Generations. I did ask him about it at one of his panels. Unfortunately, he didn't have a whole lot to say. It's a very small part, apparently. I haven't. Sorry, Lex. I haven't really watched Generations all that much. So that's sorry about that one. But he basically got in contact with the directors, or they got in contact with him. I forget exactly. He auditioned for it and whatnot, but and sort of he did a few lines there. Like I said, it's not a huge part in that. I guess it's an anthology series, is what you want to call it. It's about the best name I can think of. So he unfortunately didn't have a ton to say there. Like I said, really nice guy. Now, on the other Mon show, I do have actually quite a bit. They had Jeff Nimoy, no relation to Leonard that I'm aware of, was there, and he is I think he's doing some new stuff now. A major participant in the the Digimon Anime. So I got to go to one of his panels. Now, he was doing something a little bit unusual that week. He had been filming a bunch of stuff for sort of I don't know if mockumentary is the right word. That may not be it. I think there is more of an actual narrative. It's not like Spinal Tap or something about like an anime voice actor who sort of left the field and then eventually came back, where he plays that type of character. And they were filming that here at Geek.Kon, and they're going to edit it together, and then the next year's Geek.Kon, they're actually going to show it, do the premiere there. And so on Saturday evening, he got to do a panel with him and some of the other folks there. So I had not seen really any of this, so it was a little bit over my head, so to speak. Not really a way around that. But he did talk at the start a little bit about some of his Digimon work. Like he sort of explained how the Digimon movie that was released, I guess in 2001, how it started off as 3 separate movies in Japan, and they sort of had a lot of internal wrangling about how they were going to combine or not combine, or use or not use things. And he sort of talked about how all that came together. And he did have some handouts of various things. The one I picked up, let's see, that he gave away was this Digimon. What is it? Oh, it's stationery that I guess they used over at Fox Kids or whatever for various things. It says down here at the bottom, Saban Consumer Products. Let's see, Wilshire Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. I have no idea if these phone numbers still worked. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, I really know very little about the Digimon TV series or anything like that. Let's see there. Let's see, I just got a comment in on one of my other videos. This must be on, let's see, I have only, this must be on my unboxing video for the music from the 20th Pokemon movie. But we'll get back to that later. But yeah, I don't hate Digimon or anything like that. I think I was more territorial back in the day, but But you know, if J.J. Abrams can work with both Star Trek and Star Wars, I think at this point we can, as consumers, realize that it's not always a direct competition. Um, you know, having been through, you know, Star Trek versus Star Wars, Sega versus Nintendo versus eventually Sony, and all that stuff. Coke versus Pepsi. I'm actually listening to a sort of a documentary series that a podcast called Business Wars is doing. They started out with some other stuff, but now they're finally on Coke versus Pepsi. So, but yeah, all right. Well, let's see. Yeah, I just got a comment on my unboxing. The person, let's see, wanted them to hope they still use Miyazaki's score for the dub of movie 21. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to be totally miffed if they do or if they don't. I'm pretty flexible there. Oh, let's see. Well, go ahead. It looks like we do have a viewer here, so if you want to type in some comments, go ahead. Otherwise, I just have one more announcement. Nothing is totally final yet, but because I didn't go to Worlds this year and because I'm probably not going to internationals this fall for the TCG, I have some extra vacation days. And I decided that one thing that might be worthwhile is going to visit Anne, who does the other stuff, or does the other half of our music discussions. And so it turns out that in October there is an anime convention, Anime Banzai, near Salt Lake City. I think it's in that metro area. It's in Utah. And I have applied to do a panel, so nothing is final yet. I do plan on going there regardless. I may apply for press privileges there, whether or not I get the panel. But our plan is to do a panel called How to End a Pokemon Movie Musically. So it's sort of an offshoot of our series. It's going to be more general, not focused on a specific movie. We kind of looked ahead at it. So we would be covering, if we did it on a specific movie, would be the Keldeo movie, which I think is maybe certainly not one of the most well-liked ones. Doesn't mean we can't get a good discussion out of it. But might not be the best one for people coming in, talking about a broader range of things we felt would do better. I know they've received our application for a panel, but no word yet. I will try to keep you apprised. I'm trying to do these live streams about once a month, and so some more updates there. But until then, I think that's about all we've got for this live stream. So thank you very much for watching, and keep tuned to the channel and subscribe. Thanks.